Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 O'Clock Meltdown podcast. And rustling around in the foreground with some birds twittering, I have Nate Michaels, who is a visual artist, a painter, and a former musician. Nate, we met back when you were living in Duluth, Superior area. And
Yep.
and I actually interviewed you with the band Longhammer, and you were actually one of the first acts I interviewed. Thank you for putting up with me back then, my rambly 21-year-old self. I promise this go-around will be better.
Don't need to apologize. I don't think any of us really knew what we were doing at that point in our lives. So it was fun then. I'm having a lot of fun now. So
Good. So Nate, just to kind of give people a little background, if we can touch on Longhammer for a hot second. Longhammer was kind of more of a punk, grungy band, and by all accounts, you totally fit the bill. The messy blonde haircut, the eyeliner, the nail polish. Personally, coming from a small town, about 3,000, I had never seen anything like you before. And you definitely brought the party.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yes, I meant that.
Longhammer was just a fun deal. I played original rock. We were all really influenced, especially me and Maddie, the guitar player, really influenced by like 80s hair metal. So, I mean, I still love 80s hair metal. So it's just I don't know. We tried to party,
Yeah.
as much as we could in Duluth, Minnesota. So.
Yeah. I loved the posters that you guys had, and recently I was actually going through a box of old show posters that I'd collected back from my KUWS WPR days, back when I worked at that station, and your Longhammer poster came up, and I just remember us having a conversation one time, and you had asked me to make photocopies for you on colored paper. So I can't remember if that was one of the ones I had made for you or what, but that was kind of the beginning cusp of my marketing days. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we definitely appreciate it. So.
Oh, of course. Now, so Longhammer disbanded quite a few years back. You moved out of town, but since then your art career has actually taken off exponentially. I wish I could show people visuals right now, but I'll definitely link them to your website and things like that when this is finished. Your work is absolutely phenomenal, and you don't really hold back from either medium. I mean, some works you're doing painting, other works you're doing sketches and things like that. I've noticed that most of your work recently is focused on celebrities and, for lack of a better term, washed-up rockers. Is that kind of something that you gravitate to in your work?
I don't know if necessarily washed-up rockers. I typically
dead rockers? Does that work?
Sure.
Oh, all right.
No,
I'm teasing.
No, I know. No worries. No, I typically work the whole like Comic-Con circuit. So I mean, I play for my market, and it's going to be a lot of superhero type stuff, pop culture type stuff. The pop culture stuff that I'm actually really into is music and that whole 80s hair metal genre or classic rock or whatever. That's just what I get into. But that's not necessarily where I'm going. I'm doing. The majority of my work now is actually custom pieces. I'm pretty much that artist for hire. I got like 7 different, family portraits or celebrity portraits that aren't my choosing, but it's keeping my lights on. And I'm trying to more or less push fine art galleries and kind of figure out, where I'm standing now. So, I mean, but yeah, I do play for my market, which every artist should, whether it's music or art or
Well, and I can,
arts.
right, and I can even attest to that too. I do social media marketing at a car dealership, and even there, it's play to your audience, know who your audience is, and get the best bang for your buck. And,
absolutely.
And I was going to say, yes, that Comic-Con circuit, I follow you on Facebook and Twitter and your other social media sites, and I've noticed that you've been there quite a bit. Was that a difficult circuit to get into? I know last I spoke to a Comic-Con artist, she did custom make jewelry, and she was just telling me that you actually have to purchase your booth, and you hope that you make that back in, you know, the weekend or the day or something like that. How is that circuit? What is that circuit like, and how difficult is it to get into that type of deal?
To get into it, as long as you got some funds, it's not hard. You just literally have to fill out an application, pay your booth space. To keep your head afloat and to deal with, you know, doing as many as I do. I do at least 2, sometimes 3, 4 a month. So it's like I'm on the road a lot throughout the country, which is the coolest part of my job. You gotta, you know, like I said, play to your market. You actually have to have, you know, some real skills, and you have to learn how to be a salesman. You know, there's some amazing artists that I know and jewelry makers that are too nervous to, you know, put their foot forward and, you know, be the entertainer or the person to grab attention and, you know, make the sale. And then, you know, can't make the sale, you don't make your booth back, and then you're not going to be at the next show, you know? Right. Okay, so there is an edge of marketing and sales to it, besides doing your art, then, too. Oh, it definitely way more than an edge. I mean, that's a giant part of the whole job, so.
You are your own businessman.
Oh, absolutely. You know, anything from travel arrangements to taxes to, you know, whatever. You know, it's a full-time job plus.
Yes, I completely understand. I've run my own photography business for the past 10 years now, and yeah, I completely agree. When tax time comes around, I get nervous because it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just that. You know, I work in, you know, 30 some odd cities a year, so it's like figuring out permits and then, you know, city taxes for every single city that you're in. I mean, it's a lot more than just painting. Unfortunately, that's the fun part, but that doesn't end there.
Yeah. So you need permits to be at these places, or do you need permits to set up shop, like if you're going to set it up on the street?
You need permits to, well, it depends on the show, really.
Okay.
And the city, really. So everything's different, so every town's different. But yeah, you need your sales permit, your sales tax permit, whatever insurance that you may or may not need for that show. It's a full-on crazy business if you want to dive in full-heartedly and actually do it the right way.
Right. And now, Nate, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, we were talking a little earlier, and it seems like you're having a ton of fun with it, even with the headache of, you know, finding that hotel room, figuring out the traveling costs, things like that. It seems like you're really excited about this new endeavor that you're taking. And to kind of, I guess, jump back to the Longhammer days, I remember when we talked, were you working at a nursing home at the time?
Yep.
You basically had a 9-to-5 job, and I guess this is really cool to hear that you kind of followed your passion and you followed your dream and you're making it happen. Good for you, man.
Yeah. You know, it sounds cliche and all shit, but always wanted to be a rock star, and it's probably the closest I'm ever going to get to it. You know, I love traveling the country. Like I said, my favorite part is that, but just seeing the different cultures and then the nightlife, and you know, I'm not just let's go to work at a Comic-Con or an art gallery or whatever I am in a weekend. Like, I want to go out and check out the local music scene and the local art galleries and meet the people and hang out with people. It's really fun. I have the best friends I've ever had in my life. I met my wife here doing this whole circuit now. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely the coolest part of my life so far that I've lived is now.
Wonderful. And now, do you bring your kids with you to Comic-Con ever? Do they go help Dad out?
It depends on the show. And then, you know, school schedules and, you know, parenting time with their mom. It's, you know, they do show up sometimes. So does my wife. And, you know, it's fun for them. It's a giant. They gotta hang out in a toy store for an entire weekend. I mean, it doesn't suck.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, Nate, you've been hitting this more kind of Comic-Con circuit and things like that. What is your biggest audience that you've found? I mean, you mentioned superheroes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of the bread and butter of Comic-Con. It's all based around, you know, the whole superheroes, movies, and comic books and all that stuff. don't want to say I'm moving away from that, but I'm trying to open up my audience more. Doing more stuff that I like, and then doing more like theme pieces for art gallery shows is where I'm kind of pushing all my work this year. But yeah, I've got quite a few different fine art galleries, and that's kind of the avenue I want to go down in the future, and we'll kind of see where that plays. But I'm trying to think in long-term deal versus just, Comic-Con after Comic-Con after Comic-Con.
Right. You don't want to be 75 and going to a Comic-Con. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's like I said, it's a lot of work between, anywhere from 8 to 15-hour drive times to get there, and then the loading of the bins, and then the setting up, the tearing down, and then, I don't know. You always want to try to better yourself, and that's kind of, I think, my next step. So, I mean, I've been doing Comic-Con, the whole Comic-Con circuit for about 3 years, so we're going to see where I can go next after this.
Excellent, wonderful. Yeah, I can attest to a little of what you're saying. I've run merch tables for several musicians several times, and even just making a 3-hour drive from here down to the cities and setting up their tables for them and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's work. It's not a heyday by any means. And then and I learned quick, too, that you can't be shy when you're sitting behind the table. You gotta smile, and you gotta, basically,
I remember when I first started doing this whole bit, like, my face hurt by the end of the day, just because I was, like, smiling at everyone, and I wasn't used to it,
Yeah.
But, you gotta put on a different type of show or a different kind of act, and, you gotta be that salesman. So.
Right. And now, Nate, let's take a jump back here. How did you get started in kind of this artistry? Was it something that you were always interested in as a kid, drawing and coloring, things like that? Did you go to school for it?
I've always drawn. It's just something that I would say comes naturally. It's just something I've always did. I had an amazing teacher in Hermantown High School, Minnesota, John Harder. He taught me a lot. I got a couple different, offers for art schools out of high school. Didn't go to either of them. Worked on music, which obviously didn't go anywhere, but it was fun. But even all the Longhammer stuff or the Motley Crue tribute band that I did after that, I made all the promo stuff. I made all the clothes. I made all the backdrops. I did all the drum heads, all the flyers. I've always done it. I've always done art. Found myself without a band for a while, and then started coloring out of boredom. Bruce Springsteen, actually, just because I was on a massive Bruce Springsteen kick, and someone on Facebook offered me $25 for my, quick little pen drawing, and I was like, wow, okay, let's see what else I can do, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. So.
Very cool. And now, Nate, I mean, your art is, one, it's unique. You have a lot of heavy colors and a lot of bright colors too. Depending on what you're looking at. But you also do fine line pen work as well, and it's absolutely phenomenal. If I didn't know you and know your history, I'd say you went to college for fine art. That's how good it actually is.
Thank you.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't really do the pen stuff too frequently anymore. That's probably what I've done the longest. And all the line work stuff that you're talking about is legit just done with a big pen. It's nothing fancy at all. It's just, I see the subject and I can draw it, and it's not a quick process. It's not like oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's a good 8 to 12 hours working on an 8x10 portrait.
Right. Yeah, I was actually going to jump in what the process is for you. So you'll spend that long on a portrait then, and it really does show in the end result. I remember seeing one recently that you did of there was one of Spider-Man that was awesome, and then there was one of not Alice, Alice Cooper that you had done. And if I didn't know that it was from you, I had to do a double take. I seriously would have thought somebody had just photoshopped a picture of him. But,
the Alice Cooper piece, I actually did 2 of them recently. I'm not sure which one you saw, but they're both done with watercolors. And that's kind of something I jumped into probably, 4 years ago, just because I had a friend that was busting my chops saying I couldn't do it, and I had to prove him wrong. But yeah, that's what I've been kind of been focusing on for a while. Now I'm kind of moving more to my bigger canvas pieces. But thank you. I mean, I dig my watercolor stuff too. It's a lot of fun. Generally, for something like that, you're spending 20 to 30 hours on versus your 8x10 ballpoint pen drawing. So
Right. So with your watercolor work, I mean, do you kind of sketch out what you're going to do first and then just kind of start layering on top of that, let one layer dry and then come back at it? Or is it all in kind of a couple goes?
Oh, it's definitely a couple of goes. Generally, everything starts out with a pencil. I do the rough sketch. I do the transfer to the actual finished product paper. And then from there, I throw down some India ink, which is the same ink that goes to a black tattoo, and then that's waterproof. So then you can start layering watercolors on it. And on a good week, if I can bang out one, it's great. But life and kids and roads, and you don't ever get as much done as you want to get done, but I try.
Right. And now, Nate, I've seen a couple or several photos of your Comic-Con stands and stuff like that, and I mean, like, you have a lot at your stand, like a lot to look at. I mean, how many hours are we talking here to even get one stand going? Are we talking several months?
You mean to get the amount of inventory that I have?
Yep.
I mean, what I have on display and what I have in my art binders are just a compiled amount of like 5 years worth of work.
Okay.
Those bigger pieces that are on the grid walls behind me, those giant canvas pieces. I mean, I could spend anywhere from 70 hours to 7 months to over a year on one of them, just because it wasn't working, and I finally got it to work at one point. So it's like, right now I have, I think, 6 different paintings going that I just kind of bounce back and forth, and if something doesn't hit me or I lose my mojo on, I do something else that sits on my wall for a while and I go back to it.
All right. So then you don't really do reprints of your work then?
No, I do prints.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Prints are pretty much your bread and butter at a Comic-Con. No one really buys originals at those type of things. And so you play for your crowd, and your crowd at Comic-Cons are essentially, kids, teenagers, and younger, and then their parents. So,
right.
They all want the $20 print just to hang it on their wall. Where I'd like to go is those fine art galleries where they just, you get those high-end art collectors, and they want the originals. And, they're starting to move better now than they ever have, so that's pretty awesome. So I'm just going to keep, knocking down that door.
Yeah, of course. And now, do you mean... with the fine art galleries, do you mean your own personal work, or the trend is coming back?
Well, my own personal work. And the trend I don't think has ever gone away. I know up north, I don't think I could have did this job up north, but down here, I'm in 2 hours driving distance from 7 major cities. So there's always fine art galleries and always doing new shows, and you just have to apply and hopefully you pass whatever judge and jury of artwork that they have there, and then your stuff gets out there, and it's a different type of process. But it's working, and it seems pretty consistent down here. So.
Good. That's great to hear. So basically what you're saying is the bigger cities offers a little bit more than the smaller cities do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's just, I would assume everyone will kind of know that. I'm not knocking smaller cities. I grew up in a smaller city. But as far as, this type of career, I mean, it doesn't hurt that Louisville's here, Lexington's, an hour away, Indianapolis is 2 hours north, Cincinnati's 2 hours the other way, Nashville's 2 hours the other way, St. Louis is 3 hours one direction, so, I mean, it's just easier.
Oh, right. I can definitely see that, yes. So now you had mentioned that you kind of bounce back and forth between a couple different paintings that you have going on. So is that kind of like your process? I mean, you'll get a spark for one, you'll go until you can't go anymore, maybe take a break, move on to this other one here, or I mean, you said that you have 6 different paintings going on right now. What is the most that you have ever worked on at once?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't really keep track of it. I'm just literally looking in my room right now. I can see 6 paintings on my wall going, I should probably finish those.
All right.
I'm on the road a lot, so it's like I come and go, and then maybe we'll come back on the road, and I'm like, I don't want to look at that one right now, and I'll get a custom order that kind of takes precedence of, you know, whatever original piece that I'm working on. So, you know, gotta keep the lights on.
Oh, right, of course. And now, Nate, let's talk about your custom work. Now, I had actually ordered a custom work from you, last year, maybe 2 years ago?
That was a few years ago. That's when I first moved down here. So, yeah.
Oh, it's been that long. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Shows you how much I know. I don't keep track of time frames at all. I go with the flow.
When you're having fun, right?
Exactly. Like, oh my God, don't even get me started on this year. It's already June of 2019. Holy shit. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had ordered a custom piece from you. It was just a pen drawing, and I ended up giving it to my mother for a Mother's Day gift. She was so taken by it and so in love with it that she went and like ordered 2 more pieces from you. One of my brother and one of our deceased dog. And
okay, I do remember that.
Yep.
I remember the brother, and then now that you said the dog, I do remember that too.
Yep. And she has them proudly displayed in the living room. And every time I go up for a visit, she has to compliment you about the dog drawing. She's just like, he encapsulated, you know, all my kids in these drawings, and they're absolutely phenomenal.
Well, your mom is awesome.
But so Nate, my whole point at this a little long-windedness here, I do apologize. How did you get into doing custom works? I mean, I know it's a part of playing to your audience, but I mean, there's some custom work that people just won't do, or they're just not feeling it, or maybe that's not really their style. How did that even start? I mean, was it a friend portrait that had sparked this in you?
I don't know. I think it's probably back in like the long hammer days. I'm trying to think of the earliest one I did. It was actually for Paulie, our drummer. You know, it was just fitting Paul because he knew I could draw, and then it was his daughter, and I was like, yeah, sure. And like at the time, it was like, yeah, $20 or a case of beer. You know, I was just doing it for a friend. And then when I started getting out there and like Duluth, I started doing like arts in the park type things. Everyone's like, hey, could you draw my, daughter or dog or grandparents or whatever? I'm just like, well, yeah. I mean, if you pay me, sure. But yeah, I mean, there are some pieces where you're like, oh, that's going to be rough to do, and generally, I think I have an audience now that kind of knows what I do, so it's like they want something in a specific style, and I kind of bounce back and forth between 3 styles, either the ballpoint pen stuff, which I really only do for custom things now, and then the watercolor paintings and like the big acrylic paintings on canvas. So I mean, it's essentially, my price will depend on, how big do you want to go and what style and what's your subject, and then I can kind of ballpark an estimate, and we go from there. So.
And now, Nate, I mean, with any art, you're going to have some cost up front and things like that. Do you shop in bulk for paints, or is it just kind of...
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for any kind of custom project, I require 25% deposit before I start, which essentially gets me going as far as buying whatever materials that I may need. That kind of makes me know that you're serious. I mean, earlier in the whole art career, I got burned quite a few times where someone was like, yeah, paint me this, and I never paid.
Hey, I can attest to that too. Like I said, I've had a business for a while.
So, I mean, if someone throws down a deposit, I know they're serious enough to continue, and, at that point, I'm pretty cool with, sending progress photos and, letting the client, especially with the color schemes, have a lot of say in the direction that the piece is going. The ballpoint pen stuff is a little more, this is kind of how it needs to be.
Right, definitely. Now, Nate, if I can ask, what is the oddest piece you have done? There was a laugh.
Yeah, because there's a really odd one, which is really uncomfortable.
Oh.
I was really early in the art career. I actually still lived up north. Someone paid me to paint their dead baby, which was really messed up and really awkward and just uncomfortable. Like, it was full on in a casket, casket open, and that's not online anywhere. But I did do one, and that was probably the oddest one I've done.
Wow, that's
right?
Well, I mean, that's I mean, if we look back in history, I mean, they used to do that back in the Victorian era. You know,
no, I get you, but just as a dad, you know, at the time, like, I had a baby myself. It was just, it was challenging, to say the least, or just, you know, uncomfortable, I guess, is probably the better word.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
I mean, since then, I do a lot of, like, deceased family members, which doesn't bother me, just the baby was, like, that was different.
Well, and, I mean, it might have been different if it was a picture of the baby, but yeah, I mean... Wow.
Oh no, my subject photos were the pictures of the baby. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. I did it, and that's, I'm not sure if I'd do something in that vein again, but at the time, trial and error. I was young and very just new to all of this. Just went, sure, okay, let's give that a try. So.
Well, at least you can say that you've done it.
Yeah.
And I have...
I've had some auto requests, but I mean, there's some stuff I won't do just because, I am a dad of a bunch of young kids, and like, I won't go down certain avenues, I draw with my kids a lot. Right,
yeah. Well, Nate, thank you for answering that question.
No, that was weird. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, when you started to answer, I thought we were going down the realm of Leonardo DiCaprio, draw me like one of your French girls moment here.
No, I've had people ask for stuff like that, but again, that's more of a, well, I got young kids, I'm not going to do that for the house with kids, Sorry.
Very true. Maybe later in the career, but not now.
Yeah, when they're older and, they don't get, that won't be weird for anyone in the house, maybe, but not now.
Right. So, Nate, do you have a studio in your house, then?
Yeah, no, I got the whole back portion of the house. It's all just my whole art studio, and then I got paintings, around a room and hanging them in my art studio, so they're kind of just, on the walls throughout the entire house.
Wonderful. So the kids get to grow up in a very cultural household. That's excellent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what they can do already. Like, I was talking to my oldest daughter today, who was complaining about how late her art teacher was in school this past year. I got to knock her, but she's like, she's not an art teacher, Dad. She's just a teacher, and she happens to teach art, and she doesn't know anything. And like, my daughter's freaking crazy talented at art. And she sat with me for like 3 hours today, painting side by side. Just going back and forth. And she was critiquing me, and I was critiquing her, and it was a lot of fun. So I mean. Yeah, they definitely, if they put their mind to it down the road, man, they're gonna bury me real fast as far as art goes.
Well, it sounds like you've definitely passed something along for them.
Yeah, man, it's a neat job. I mean, they get to see a lot of the fruits of it, the traveling, and then when they get to the shows or whatnot, they see the big crowds. It sounds arrogant, I'm sorry, but it's neat. Especially when you're a little, 12-year-old girl, you're like, oh my gosh, all these people like my dad,
Oh, yes.
It's neat. And then, we get, especially at the whole Comic-Con circuit, we rub a lot of shoulders or elbows with celebrities. So it's like they're, oh my God, I saw you on the movie that we watched last night, and they're at my booth talking, So man, it's definitely pushing.
And I just lost Nate. Let me see if I can get him back here. Hang on. Well, I just got Nate Michaels back. We were just talking about the giant thunderstorm they're having. Actually, we had a giant thunderstorm a few days ago as well, and I just made it inside my apartment right before it started downpouring. Thunder, lightning, the whole 9 yards, and it was loud. Everyone, when you're hearing that fuzz in the background, that's just the rain.
Yeah, sorry guys.
That's okay, that's alright. And now Nate, so you do a lot of Comic-Cons, you're getting more into custom work with your painting and your ballpoint pen work. You're looking at getting into art galleries down in Kentucky and other places. If somebody's interested in getting a custom piece done or seeing where you're going to be next on your travels, how can they do that?
Easiest way, NateMichaels.net. And otherwise, just search Nate Michaels Art on any of the social media stuff. You'll find me real easy. So, Pretty much the only. There's one other Nate Michaels. He's a singer from New York. He's also actually really good. But otherwise, if it's artwork, it's Nate Michaels, it's me.
Okay. All right, perfect. And actually, Nate, you're not the only one that has a doppelganger that does something else. I interviewed the musician Ryan Van Sluten a few years back, and he actually has a doppelganger, Ryan Sluten, as well, who's a lawyer. So their emails and contact info constantly gets crossed. So it's an interesting world. I have yet to find someone that has my name, but it's probably out there somewhere. Yeah, I know, right? It'd be creepy if they had my name and they looked like me. That'd be going a little too far, I think. But
yeah, I mean, then they're just ripping you off. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Cloning is now a thing. But anyway. Well, I won't keep you much longer, sir. I know you've got a couple projects waiting in the wings, and I'm sure you've got a plan for that next Comic-Con that you've got coming up. So is it super difficult to kind of be living on the road? I know we had touched before that little thunderstorm snafu about traveling, and you're really enjoying kind of the artist life, it sounds like. Are there any kind of big difficulties, any big hurdles that you have to go through?
I would say the biggest hurdle is just, juggling family life with, on the road life. My wife is freaking awesome, Danny. I love her. She's great. And then, we got 5 kids between the two of us, so it's like just trying to figure out schedules and who's going to be where, and when I'm going to be home, and can I get these kids to school at this day? That's probably the hardest part. But yeah, as far as like the travel time and all that stuff, I mean, that gets old, yeah. But like when you get to the cities, you start interacting with the people, and you go. I'm a big fan of nightlife, so it's like you go check out the bars, live music, and then you really start to actually see the city for what it is. That's cool, and like that keeps me going to town. I got great friends that I finally been able to like convince to like, let's go out and have a good time every night. So it's like
Nate, you haven't changed.
No, I'm the same dude. I guess I just color now. I don't sing like Sam Carr, but
Yep. No, and kind of taking it back, I still remember it was Longhammer, and you guys were playing Beaners. I was still fairly new to the music scene up here, and you guys definitely brought the party, and you definitely brought it from the stage as well. I mean, as small as Beaners is for the coffee shop,
that Beaners show, we played acoustically too. I remember that because our drummers left. That first Beaners show that you saw us.
Yeah,
it was us and This Is Now, who I love, and just Malik was there too, and they played acoustically. We didn't have a drummer, so we played acoustically and just did what we could do.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, but everybody killed it that night. I think I still have This Is Now CDs.
So do I.
Oh yeah, autographed the whole 9 yards. Yeah. No, I do remember that night. I remember I bought. Just to kind of take it back a little bit, I bought the This Is Now CD, and I wanted them to autograph it because I thought they were really wicked cool, this weird kind of grungy punk half in the bag ska band. And the lead singer signed it, and the guitarist went to sign it, and he's like, "Oh, can I put my phone number in there too?" And I just dead eyes stared right at him and said no. The whole place burst out laughing.
You couldn't just let him have that.
Nope.
Yeah, please do. Just never call him.
Nope. Shot him down.
Okay, fair enough.
Shot him down. I don't work that way.
You have to continue. You just let him have a little hope, I guess.
No. But Nate, fast forward a few months, we did go out on a date. So he.
There you go.
He got something out of it, I guess. No, because then if he wrote his number, then the singer was going to write his, and it just would have been flooded with phone numbers, and, well, who wants that kind of pressure?
Their business contacts do that. You ran a radio show, you played music, they were business contacts.
Yes. But I would have had my radio show at the time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't I? Yeah. I actually never interviewed This Is Now.
Yeah, they would have had a hard time playing acoustically. I mean, those guys are freaking fantastic, but they were definitely more of a metal band. Just metal doesn't always transpire into acoustic very well.
True. Very, very true. Although, when the band Exhaust was still around, I got them to break it down and play acoustic.
That's cool.
On my show. Yeah, that was really cool. And, like, I was nervous about asking them, and this is before I knew Dan, their lead singer, and I was nervous about asking them to break it down acoustically because, you know, some bands just don't. I mean, they play electric and that's how it's going to be and da-da-da. And Dan's like, hell yeah, we'll play acoustic. We've never done acoustic before. I'm like, okay. And they rocked it, same as they do when they're on a big stage. So that was really fun.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. That was really
fun. Listening was really fun back in the day. Like, I don't know what it's like at all anymore, but like I had a great time with all those guys.
Oh.
I mean,
I don't know.
I went up there a couple Decembers ago when I actually saw This Is Now, and it was like they did one rehearsal for the show because they don't really play anymore. And
right.
I had such a blast catching up with everyone, and everyone was like, "Yeah, just the metal scene and rock scene is pretty much gone." And hell, when we were playing, like it was almost gone. So, I mean, I have no idea.
Well, yeah, and you know, I mean, I'll let you say that and lead me into this comment here, but it's and you know, it has changed quite a bit. I mean, I remember being able to hop from, you know, Fitgers to Sir Ben's to, you know, right down Superior Street there, and you'd catch, you know, an acoustic singer-songwriter at Fitgers, you know, which was usually Teague or Ian Alexi. I love those guys. Or then you'd jump to Sir Ben's and it would be, you know, like a Longhammer-ish ska band. And then you'd jump to, you know, Carmody's, which is right down the road, a bar, and This Is Now would be playing. And now you walk down the street and not a lot of that is happening. You know, they have their nights when they do their open jams, and then about once a month they'll do a music show. It's not like it used to be. You know, I mean, I remember lines standing outside of Pizza Luce in a line, waiting to get in, and now that only happens during Homegrown. So it's interesting.
That's things, and you know, that's small town, and you know, on top of just lack of interest in music, really, which kind of sucks. But
well,
it's kind of the way the whole world's going lately, unfortunately. But there are some diehards like me that just all I want to see is live music.
Yes. So Nate, let's dive into that a little bit. I guess why do you say? Do you mean like rock and roll music? Do you mean kind of music in general? I guess what's your angle?
I'm not in the music business at all. I'm just a giant fan at this point. But I mean, you can't buy CDs anywhere except you find small mom and pop record shops anymore. I mean, it's not a lucrative thing anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's...
You know, Anthrax will sell at a stadium in Europe, they'll play a bar here, you know, or a small club. So, I mean, it's just the way it is, you know? I don't think rock and roll is dead. I don't think it ever will die, you know? I see it every other weekend in whatever town that I'm in, and then some dive bar. You know, I take what I can get sometimes. Not what it once was, and it sucks, but I don't think it's ever going to go away, and hopefully someday it'll come back, you know, or like come back full force anyway.
Right, definitely. And yeah, you know, I mean, everything kind of ebbs and flows, just like politics or, you know, the next hot button issue or, you know, I mean, I could name 25 million different things that change in, you know, a span of a few months. But yeah, it's interesting. So Nate, thank you for giving me hope that rock and roll is still around.
No, I mean, whether it's like an independent anything, there's always going to be that rock and roll dude doing whatever art or music or theater. I mean, it's just more underground now, I guess, you know? Right. Yeah, just really look for it, and hopefully someday it'll come back in mainstream, but, you know, if not, just make sure you look.
Yeah. Hey, you know, you're talking to an old emo kid, and I'm still hoping emo comes back around, and I'm sorry, but I think it's dead. I think I just need to...
Everything goes in cycles. You'll have a different version of it coming around at some point.
God. Anyway. Sorry, I just had a vision of, like, future weird punk emo-ness, and I don't know. I think I just confused myself. Maybe I saw the future for a hot second. Who knows?
Man, I've seen some emo bands on the road in the last year for sure.
Wait.
You know, I saw some in Dallas. That was a weird freaking show. I've seen some in New Orleans last year. I mean, they're out there. They're just not mainstream yet. You know?
Right. So let's for just posterity's sake here. Okay, so when I say emo, I mean like Green Day releasing American Idiot.
Yeah, like
AFI.
Later Green Day, AFI type,
later Green Day, later AFI. Yeah, those guys. But I mean, those guys, I mean, I need to take a little step back here, but I mean, those guys started in the punk scenes in California. I mean, like we're gonna scream so you can't understand our words and have heavy guitar and, you know, I mean, the spiked hair, the Doc Martens, the leather jackets with chains. I mean, that's who those guys were way back when.
For sure.
You know, and then they morphed and did whatnot, and then really came about in like 2006, 2008. So that's what I mean when I say emo. Just to reiterate more of a point here, I was actually corrected one time by a young lady because she had dyed her hair green, and I said, "Oh, what's up, emo kid?" And she whipped around, gave me the evilest look possible, and said, "Don't you ever call me that again." And I, like, to me, in my era, that's a compliment. And I was just like, whoa. I'm like, so now what do you call yourself? I'm like, scene kid? And she's like, no, scene kids are idiots. Scene kids are old. I'm like, what? Okay. And she's like, I'm a concert kid. I'm like,
Concert kid. Okay, I haven't heard of scene kid or concert kid before, so that's new.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, I'm old.
Yeah, okay. All right, so...
I'm part of an older generation. I get it. I'm not that old, but I get it.
Oh, man. So am I, Nate. All right, so you saw emo bands making the rounds in dive bars. Are we talking like, I'm going to have this old 80s skater cut, and it's going to cover one of my eyes, and I'm going to wear black nail polish?
Dude, I wish I would have wrote down their name. I was in Dallas, Texas a few weeks ago. Me and my buddy were just kind of bar hopping, trying to find some live music. We saw like a really cool blues band, and we saw like some weird Mexican rap group where like one dude was wearing a pig mask, and like they had like a huge crowd. I'm not a rap guy, but it was just neat to see the live scene. And then we heard like some just snotty punk rock. I'm like, that's the bar. That's where we gotta be. And we walked in the wrong door, and they told us to walk around the front. And we walked around the front, and it was like this like high-end cocktail bar. We're like, this is not what we heard. Where's the live music? And they told us to go to the patio, and we had to walk through this whole high-end suit and tie type bar on the patio. There's this band called 11 Teen. I don't remember their name because I have their sticker on my road case in front of me right now.
Nice.
And they were playing. They sounded like, you know, Motorhead, but a little more punk rocky and a little more snotty. And then right after that, it was this band, straight up emo band. It was this little short, like 5'0" Japanese guy that's not racist. He just was, you know, just killing it on guitar and lead vocals. And then, you know, you had, you know, a bass player that reminded me of my old bass player, Longhammer. And then, you know, Tubby Dallas, good old boy, Texas drummer playing drums, and like they rocked it. I was like, it was not what we expected at all. They totally blew us away. It was a real, you know, strange trip. But I mean, there's scenes like that everywhere. You just have to look for them.
Right. And what a strange combination. I mean, a suit and tie bar hosting a punk thing, but you know, I mean, punks can get dressed up too.
Oh, they weren't dressed up in the back patio. That was that was my crowd in the back patio. We weren't in the bar. We were in the back patio, which had its own little crappier bar, but live music.
Okay, so clearly there was a differing line there.
Yeah, it was the same, you know, business, but they served two crowds.
Hey, more business for them, right?
Exactly.
Why discriminate?
Fun, man.
Oh, that does sound like fun. Well, Nate, it's wonderful to catch up with you, sir. Thank you so much. Good
no
luck
problem.
with the 6 different paintings you've got on your wall. And good luck with getting into kind of fancier areas. And good luck with the Comic-Con.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, NateMichaels.net. It's a long, fun, strange ride to follow if you guys are interested. Otherwise, all the social media, Nate Michaels Art, it's all there. So,
All right, excellent, sir. Well, thank you so much, and have a great night.
yeah, no problem. You too. Thanks for having me.